Hey, welcome to Suits and Boots Legal Chat. So who is Daryl Davidson? Today, we're going to find out. Hey, Daryl, how's it going, man?
Man, I'm doing good. And good morning to you. Nice to see you.
Good morning.
Before
it's good
we get
to see
to the
you.
office.
So the topic today is, who is Daryl Davidson? So
Okay.
tell us, who is Daryl Davidson?
Well, first of all, I'm from Statesville. My name is Daryl Grant Davidson Sr. I was born and raised here. I actually attended North Iredell High School. I graduated there in 1987. Went to Howard University undergrad. I graduated from there with a finance degree and worked for 4 years. But I always wanted to be an attorney. So after working for 4 years, I worked for an insurance company in New York. I worked for them in Los Angeles. I also worked for them in Atlanta. That's when I decided that it was time for me to go to law school. So I went to law school at the University of Iowa. And a lot of people ask me, well, why Iowa? Well, free tuition would have got me anywhere. And so, but after law school, I always wanted to come home because I wanted to make a difference in my community and sort of be like not necessarily the first to blaze the trail, but to be an example of those who want to do some of the things that I do. So I'm an attorney. I practice criminal law as well as family law.
So that's a lot of unique stuff before you became an attorney.
Yes.
How does the stuff that you did before becoming an attorney influence how you practice law?
Well, good question. Because when I was an underwriter for an insurance company, I had to actually deal with the public on a regular basis. I had to deal, of course, with what I would say corporate America and learning how to deal and do deals. So it gave me good communication skills. It gave me the ability to be able to speak to individuals in crowds. It also gave me the ability to understand that there are different types of people with different types of personalities. And so for the work that I do, as far as a criminal defense attorney, as in family law, you deal with all kinds of individuals. Yep. And normally when an individual comes to see me, they're not in the best emotional state. So you got to learn how to not only be compassionate, but you got to learn also how to listen. And so during my career as an underwriter, I had to learn how to listen. I had to learn how to communicate and do the things that not only just my customers wanted, but now, understand what my client's position would be and what they desire as far as the outcome of their case.
So you said you always wanted to be an attorney.
Yes.
So talk about that. So it's like since little Daryl was riding his tricycle, or when did that start?
Well, I think, and I'll tell you, when I was younger, I witnessed quite a bit growing up as far as people needing certain things. Services were not available. Either they were not financially able to afford the services. And I wanted to be an individual that came back and gave back to the community. And so some of my experiences when I was younger, that I experienced, gave me the desire to come back and want to help, especially the individuals that were disadvantaged, the individuals that didn't know a way or the path or avenue to seek certain things like justice, or when they were wronged or when they were discriminated against or anything like that. So I wanted to come back and I wanted to help individuals with that, in those situations.
Yeah, I think that's one of the attractions for all of us as attorneys. I was in heat and air before I did this job.
Right.
And it doesn't matter whether you're going to somebody's house to unstop their toilet or whether you're helping them with their crap in the legal world. It's all helping people. And I think that's what attracts a lot of us to that.
Exactly. And of course, our motto is, we're here to help.
We're here to help.
Yeah.
And we say that, and it sounds, it's a marketing slogan, but at the same time, it's really what we feel. It's what we believe.
True.
And I know that's what you believe.
Exactly.
Too. So you said family law and criminal law. Anything else you focus on?
Well, there are times when I do civil cases too. Certain civil cases like wrongful death, personal injury, and in situations. And of course, there are different levels of a personal injury case. But that's mainly what I do. And it's mainly the family law and the criminal law. There's a running joke. I always say, there's not a lot of difference between criminal law and family law. What other situations can you go in with nothing and come out with half? A robbery, sometimes a divorce. And sometimes a divorce is a robbery.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I remember one of my favorite things that you've ever told me is when you first started out, I think you were practicing what kind of the cat law or something like that?
Yeah, I call it feline law. Feline law. People say, well, what is that? They say, well, feline law is whatever the cat drags in. And so that's,
you do what you
I had to do what I had to do. Yeah. And so
absolutely.
for a while, I had to do that. I had to take cases when I was out on my own, things that I normally wouldn't do, but I did until I became, specialized in certain areas.
Well, see, so the trademark's kind of the trademark's kind of the bow tie.
Yes, it is.
So mine's kind of the boots, and it's hard to show the boots on camera. But so that's kind of where the name comes from, suits and boots.
Exactly.
What do you do when you're not wearing the bow tie?
Well, as far as leisure time, I'm at the age now where doing nothing on the weekends is okay with me. I have no problems with not leaving the house on the weekends, but I love to travel. I'm married. We have 4 children. They're basically all grown except for our youngest, who's in college now. Everybody else has graduated. So my wife and I actually spend a lot of time traveling. As far as any extracurricular activities, I try to get involved with stuff that goes on in the community. I'm a part of a fraternity, and we still are active, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. So we're pretty active in the community in Salisbury. And so other than that, I wait to see my children, my kids, whenever they come home.
Cool. Yeah.
It's exciting that we are now empty nesters. I have a daughter that's actually at Penn. And, I wait for her to come home. But what I'm learning as I've gotten older is that she doesn't want to spend a lot of time with us when she comes home anymore. But that's okay. That's okay. It's a part of growing up.
See, I've got a 5 and a 7-year-old, so it's completely different.
Right.
It's completely different. But I do know that the amount of time that consumes is just amazing.
It is.
I can't imagine what I don't know if you would call it a letdown or what, that it would be whenever they're gone.
Yeah, whenever they're gone.
Well, now what am I going to do,
Well, at the end of the day, I've heard a lot of parents say, you have them a good 18 years. And after that, they may or may not be back home to stay. So make the best of the time while they're there. And that's what we've tried to do.
And I know in the 5 and 7 years that we've had, it's just gone by so quick.
And they will continue to go by fast.
Yeah, I'm sure that's true. So family, travel, that's what about those things refreshes you? So how do you does that recharge you for the job?
It does. Because I think as attorneys, and I'm pretty sure you can attest to this, if we didn't take the time to travel and take the time off, we would literally be working every day, all day. Yep. And fortunately, we get to have secured leave. And I think that's at the point you realize, man, I need to decompress so that you can come back after the leave, feeling refreshed and going forward. Because as well as I know, it's a very stressful job.
Absolutely.
And under, I'll talk to people who indicate, man, it's not physical labor. Why is it so hard? But when you're waking up in the middle of the night at 2 o'clock and 2:30 because you're concerned about the case that's going down at 9:30 with your client, and you're concerned whether your client's going to either go to jail or if they're going to, lose their children in the custody battle. And I've always said that as an attorney, if you care about your clients, you're going to worry.
Absolutely.
You're going to worry, and it's going to stress you out.
And when those folks walk through the door, we are covenanting with them that we're going to walk into this with you.
Right.
The worst things that you've ever gone through. Right. Hey, we're going to be right there walking with you as you go through it.
Well, it's funny because I tell potential clients and people who ask me about my profession, you marry their problems.
Absolutely.
You marry their issues when they come in the door.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, if you care about your clients, you care about what happens to them. And it could, it's been a lot of restless, sleepless nights.
I've seen and had some of those, and it's never any fun.
And you, the question that you had before about, what do you do, outside of, practicing law? There are times when I get home, I don't want to be on the phone. I don't want to be on the phone. I don't want to have conversations about, legal issues after hours, because I'm still sort of winding down from what happened today.
Absolutely.
And what's going to happen the next day.
Yeah. So, and one of the things when you talk about secured leave that attorneys, it allows attorneys to go and kind of get that recharge time. One of the things that you do is serve on the state bar. So for the last almost going on 4 years now, you've been the state bar counselor for our district. Talk about that. What is that?
And I'm very thankful that it's an elected position where your peers actually elect you or nominate you to be elected to serve. So the North Carolina State Bar is basically, I'd say, the governing arm of for lawyers. They issue opinions. They basically are, I would say, the police of the bad doings of attorneys.
Sure.
And so what I do in my position, I serve on different committees. Quarterly, we meet. And the main thing that I do as far as my position as a state bar counselor is we review grievances. Our main objective actually is to protect the public. And so we review grievances where a client feels like attorney may have ran afoul of the professional code of ethics or fee disputes, things that the North Carolina State Bar would feel, hey, this attorney fell below. And so we have to make recommendations on certain things as far as the punishment or whether we dismiss a frivolous, claim against an attorney. But I will tell you that it's not a situation where, in my position, where we're looking to just punish an attorney. The biggest thing is that we're trying to make sure that the guidelines are adhered to protect the public. So, and I enjoy it. I think one of the good things about it is that I get to meet and converse with other attorneys across the state.
Yeah.
And those people that are there are willing not only to serve, but evidently their peers must think a lot of them to be able to nominate them to send them there.
Yeah.
And we do some very good, meaningful work, and it becomes like family.
Yeah.
Oh, and I will say this. You asked me, what do I like to do? I love CrossFit.
I
hate,
You've been doing it for years.
I've been doing it for years.
Yeah.
I tell people I hate working out, but I love CrossFit, and it's pretty much my me time, and it helps me out mentally because I think every attorney needs an outlet.
Yeah.
And for me, doing CrossFit, I try my best, even if I am not here and I'm on vacation.
You've told me this before.
Even when I'm on vacation, I'll drop into a CrossFit gym, and I'll always send out a picture to my what I call my Sunday school class. They'll know what I'm talking about. That's my 5 a.m. group because I go at 5 a.m. Just about every morning. And so that is that's one of my biggest outlets. That's one of the things that gets me ready and gets me prepared to come into the office.
Absolutely. Mine's a tractor. It doesn't get me the health benefits, but I love, we have a little farm up in Alexander County, and I love getting on the tractor. And because, man, nobody's going to bother you.
Right.
It's just quiet.
And that's how I feel. And for me, CrossFit, and it's family. It's like we're family. We it's not the workout itself. It's the camaraderie and the individuals there that make it so special. And we all look forward to seeing it. If somebody's out, I always say, look, I was about to put you on the back of a milk carton because you've been missing.
That is like Sunday school.
Yeah, it is.
Sunday school at Baptist Church where I grew up, you're going to be getting some phone calls and some cards in the mail.
Actually, so a shout out to my Sunday school class at the Brown Table.
That is awesome, man. So you've been on the state bar now you're just starting your second term.
My second term.
Yeah.
Each term is 3 years, and so you got to get reelected after 3 years. And the most you could serve is 9 years. Okay. So I've been elected for my second 3-year term. And I've indicated to the individuals that are selecting for the position that it took me 3 years really to figure out what the heck was going on. I mean, it really, literally, I just started feeling comfortable with doing the work that I'm doing and making sure that I was doing it right. It's a lot of reading. It is. It's a lot of reading. It takes a lot of time. You have to have a lot of patience. But the one thing that I can say that I bring, and all the other attorneys bring to the table when we're discussing these grievances is personal experiences.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you're able to not necessarily get into the mind of the attorney, but you can sort of figure out what they were trying to do. Yep. Because a lot of situations that come before the state, the North Carolina State Bar are situations that you yourself have been in. When a client doesn't want to communicate, or they thought that they fired you, or they, want to dispute a fee or something to that effect. So it also reinforces that, every time that I need to deal with a client or our firm needs to deal with a client, we need to do it above board.
So often we find, and you've seen this too,
yes,
that clients, the people are just, for whatever reason, so hesitant to go see an attorney.
Yes, they are.
And I think we've got a reputation that maybe we've earned in our past.
Yes.
But the state bar is working to correct some of that
they are.
and make sure that, hey, if you want to go see an attorney and something goes wrong, you don't think you're treated right, there's things out there that can protect you and take care of you. And that's the state bar.
It is. In fact, some of the things that the state bar is considering that's under consideration is what they call unbundled legal services. And with unbundled legal services, an individual, exactly.
Yeah.
Because a client or potential client may not be able to afford an entire claim for divorce, alimony, child custody. The most important thing to them may be just the child custody and the child support.
Sure.
And so if they're able to afford that portion of it where it allows an attorney to get in and just for that specific issue, and that way they'll be able to afford at least some legal representation. You'd be amazed at some of the things that some of the courts across or districts have done across the state of North Carolina where they've allowed these self-help programs where people can have access to forms, they can have access to legal advice, and it's really helped them out.
Yeah.
And so they're actually doing some great things. And for the attorneys that are actually listening, the North Carolina State Bar is not your enemy. Okay. If anything, they're there to keep you on track, and you have access to them anytime. You have a question about whether something is ethical or whether this procedure is correct, you can always reach out to them and they'll give you at least the opinion on it. And that way you'll know how to govern yourself moving forward.
Yeah, we've done that several times. You just send an email and say, hey, can I do this? Should I do this?
Exactly.
What should I do? And they're always super helpful.
It will save you a lot of headache in the future. And one thing I always indicate to attorneys, whenever I come back, from these quarterly meetings is I always try to, at least if there's something new, definitely to get that information to the local bar, is that they're not your enemy. If you get a letter from the North Carolina State Bar, respond.
Yeah.
Just respond.
Yeah.
Because that is one of the major reasons why, they get claims is because the problem because they haven't responded to a client.
So if you're out there thinking about hiring an attorney and you're worried, like, man, I've heard so much about how attorneys are whatever, fill in the blank. Don't worry. The majority of the attorneys, I think you would agree with me, the majority of the attorneys in Statesville, Iredell County, and the places we work, they're good guys. And ladies. They're they're good folks.
And the thing, and I'll tell you, one of the things that I really enjoy about, practicing in a small town is that the personal relationships that you actually build with other attorneys. And, where there's something to be said to where I can walk into the clerk's office and, get some immediate attention. There's a reason why I wanted to come back home to a smaller, a smaller district to practice. And there's nothing wrong if you want to practice in a Charlotte or Raleigh or Winston-Salem or Durham. But for me, I'm a country boy at heart. Even though I've lived in Washington, D.C. when I went to Howard and Manhattan and Brooklyn and Los Angeles and Atlanta. I can do the city, but I'd rather, rest in the country.
Here, right here. Yes. Well, so before we kind of wrap up some things, there's a couple things that I did want to talk about. And I've heard this rumor that stand-up comedy was maybe something we thought about. Huh?
Well, to me, there was you get this bug about, you want to be in the entertainment field. And I did live in L.A. for a little while.
Yeah.
And for me, I live that dream out sort of by doing jury trials because it gives me the opportunity to really act in front of 12 people.
Humor's important, right?
It is.
I mean, because it is. Truthfully, in our office, you're the guy. I mean, you're the funny guy. Well, and the rest of us are we hold our own, but you keep us on our toes.
Well, here's the deal. You have to understand that I spend more time with you guys at work a lot of times more than my own family. And my idea is that if I'm going to spend this time with you or the majority of the time to the exclusion of my family, then it's going to be a fun place.
It's got to be.
It's got to be. And you got to find the humor in a lot of things. Every day should not be, a dreadful experience. So I try to find the fun just about, in everything.
And we almost everything we deal with is a serious matter.
It is.
And so we take what we do very seriously, but we can't take ourselves too seriously.
No, we can't. We can't. And I enjoy it. I mean, like I said, I remember our Christmas party. I made up the menu for.
Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. So tell me, along that line, what is the craziest or funniest thing that's happened to you as an attorney? And we got to keep our client confidentiality, so we're not going to talk about any names. But any scenarios that just immediately come to mind?
Well, I think when I first started practicing, and I sort of fell into the trap of, I believe my clients until they give me a reason not to, and so sometimes you believe them wholeheartedly. And I had an individual that had was charged, of course, with larceny of an animal. He stole an animal, and we're going to try the case. We talked, and I was like, "There's no way they could get you with larceny," and so we get ready to try the case, and the officer that was investigating, he said, "Well, look here," he said, "Now I understand you want a trial." I said, "Yes, sir, I want a trial. They don't have any connection with my client whatsoever." I said, "Well, I think you might want to take a look at this statement," and I look at the statement. And not only did he know, and not only did he bathe and kept the dog away and secreted away, disguised the dog.
He disguised the dog. As what?
Yeah. I was like, so we entered a plea. And that was my first lesson on, man. And at the end of the day, I had to laugh because, he disguised the dog. Shaved it. So, hey,
get some just for men and
I guess so. Some Grecian formula. Dog was supposed to be, like black. I think it was gray or something, but he died. He disguised it. So,
I had a similar situation. I'm talking to when I was on the court appointed list for a while. I'm talking to a client who's in jail, and I said, "Well, how did the police know?" And she said, "Well, I told them." And I thought, okay. So,
but wait a minute.
Little bit of advice: don't tell them.
Yeah, don't talk. But I think the most shocking and funny story I've ever had is I got a guy's case dismissed. It was an assault case. He didn't want it dismissed. He said, "What can I do? I don't want it dismissed." Yeah, and so that's sort of
sometimes,
man,
man,
sometimes. So
you just never know what you're going to see in this job.
Never know.
One of the things that Mr. Bimbo told me when I first started is he said, "I can't promise you anything, but I can promise you you'll never be bored." And that's definitely been true. The characters, the people that we come across, and just the everyday folks that we see, it's just so rewarding. And ultimately, like we talked about, we're here to help.
Yeah.
And so often we get in on the backside of things a lot of times.
Yeah.
One of the other attorneys in our office and I are working on a case right now where actually two different ones, and they're similar. If the clients had just come, if the folks had just come to see us before they got this far down the road,
exactly.
we could have solved so many problems ahead of time.
Exactly.
And so often folks, for whatever reason, whether it's because of the reputation of attorneys or whether they think it's going to be expensive, they don't come to see us.
Exactly. Oh, they're scared, I think a lot of it has to do with the idea that it's too expensive. But I will tell you this, I totally understand some individuals are not financially able to secure counsel, but that doesn't mean that we can't work with them to see about a way of trying to represent them.
We really are here.
We really are. We're really there to help. So at the end of the day, like I said, it's a service business. It's not if you think that being an attorney is, being an attorney and all this money just falls out of the sky, that is not the case. In fact, individuals or young adults that are thinking about going to law school, I always offer them the opportunity to come in and spend a week during the summer so they can see really where the rubber meets the road. And I always used to tell individuals that, if you want the meat to eat, you got to make the kill. You got to be faster than the slowest gazelle. Yeah. There are no food lines in the jungle. Yeah. So if you want the meat to eat, you got to get up and go make the kill, which means that you have to earn it. Yeah. There's not a situation where money just shows up on the door.
Or go to dental school.
Or go to dental school.
You get Wednesdays and Fridays off.
I tell them to go to dental school, you know. And I'll tell you, none of my children are, you know, in the legal field. Yeah. I have one that's a consultant. I have one that's an engineer. One that is, you know, was in a business major that, you know, works for a company. And, you know, our youngest is wanting to be a doctor. And so I always indicated to him, I'm not wanting you to go to law school just because I went. But if you have a passion for it, I'll definitely encourage you. But I'm not going to make it to where, hey, I'll be disappointed. I tell my kids all the time, I'm probably the only person in your life that will never be jealous of you doing better than me. That's awesome. As a parent, and that's what you want.
That's exactly what
and so you know, with the help of my wife, you know, we've hopefully done, you know, a pretty decent job, and I thank her for that too, because she put a lot of work and effort into it also.
Yeah, that's great, man. Well, thanks so much for taking the time this morning. And you guys, we are here to help. And Daryl, any kind of criminal law, any kind of family law, if you have a personal injury, wrongful death, that kind of thing, he's definitely here to help.
I would be glad to talk to you.
So we appreciate you guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you for your time.